I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is being recorded. All of the material that we're going to go through today, we will have available online. Hopefully by the end of this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and start. Can everybody see my tuition screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Um, all right, so today we're going to be going over tuition and just kind of going through the basics of it. And I'm going to go through the timelines, all of that. And then I'm going to show you the tuition data entry screens, and we'll go through that. And then I'll have question and answers for everybody. We all know that everybody pays tuition, except the parents or the guardians of the students. So your district of residence is going to pay tuition to the district of attendance. And this is the law here that says that you've got to do that. And it also says that you can, I'll get going here, that you can, the A and B goes to the district of attendance. It does not go back to the district of residence. The only exceptions to the residency rules are your homeless students and students of military. We don't charge tuition for those kiddos. The discretionary attendance at a district by parent or guardian with request with no extenuating circumstances. Pretty much you have to take these students. The only time you can't or that you can deny these students is if they meets these exceptions down here. And these are outlined in 20-5-320. Be very, very careful, though, how you deny, and be sure that you have a good district policy that outlines all of this stuff. Again, and if you've got any questions on that, consult your legal consultant. Mandatory attendance, these are also outlined in law right up here, 20-5-321. And these are kiddos that have extenuating circumstances. If you've got direct questions on those, just give me a call and I'll go over them with you. But these are kids that meet this criteria down here, the geographical conditions. If you've got a student whose family has to go to high school and it's easier for the elementary kids to go to that high school district and vice versa, those kiddos can attend with a mandatory attendance agreement. Kiddos in foster care or in a group home are also underneath this mandatory attendance. And again, here I'm going through your attendance policies. Be sure that you have a really good district policy that covers your tuition. I can't stress that enough. And I'm pretty sure that most everybody already has this in place, but just keep it updated. The only thing that, well, if you've got a kiddo coming in from out of district, the parents are responsible for their transportation. Anytime you have a transportation question, it is something that is agreed upon between the districts. But right now, law says that parents are responsible for getting them to the district of attendance. This is on our FP 14. Hang on one second here. I think I'm missing a slide in here. I'll have to fix that. The out of district attendance flow kind of goes, follows this pattern. The parent submits an attendance agreement to the district of choice or district of attendance. You're going to hear that used interchangeably, but I think I mostly use district of attendance. Usually how this happens is the parent comes in and they go, I want my kid to go here. And the district of attendance provides them with the FP 14. And then depending, in this circumstance, it would be the FP 14-1. When they bring that back to you completed, check to make sure that it's completed and everything is filled out. And then you just let them know that on such and such date, we're going to approve all of these, we'll approve the tuition agreements, approve or disapprove. If it's approved in your board meeting, the district clerk provides a copy of the agreement to OPI, county superintendents, district superintendents, and the district of residence. The only thing that's going to change after legislation, after we get done with the legislator, is that they have taken OPI out of this, this flow. But because it's not done yet, I'm keeping it in, and you still have to send me your attendance agreements when they're completed and approved. I have been getting some back from the district of residence, and that's not really necessary. I only need to get them from the district of attendance. Save yourself that extra step. And remember, when you send these, you've either got to send them snail mail or you've got to send them via the file transfer service. If the agreement is denied, within 10 days, the district of attendance has to provide a copy of the denial to all appropriate parties. And then if the parent wants to appeal that decision, they have to go to the county superintendent of the district of attendance. Here's our tuition payment cycle, and I know this can be confusing, so I used this year's dates to kind of give you an outline of this. Last year, most of you started your open enrollment process, and I just put March to July. I think a lot of people start in January and February planning for this. So March of 2024 through July 2024, you guys open up your district for open enrollment. July 24th to June 25, the district of attendance, your school year begins, and these are all these FP 14s need to be entered into the tuition module in MAEFAIRS, and we just got that up and running, and we will go through that after I finish this particular thing and answer some questions. June 30th, mark that on your calendars. That's a very important date. These all have to be into MAEFAIRS by June 30th. That's the last day. July 15th, The district of attendance must send a tuition invoice to the district of residence. So you get these in, you review them, you get them ready to go, you make sure all your information is in there, and then you can send these out to your to the district of residence. Again, be careful because these invoices have kid information on them. So you either got to mail them or you got to do secure file transfer. February to March 2025, ensure tuition is on the trustee board meeting agenda. What I mean there is make sure that you notice your tuition levy when you notice all your other levies. December 31st of 2025, the district of residence pays the first half of the tuition to the district of attendance. Okay, so we're not even there yet for this year. You don't have to pay that first payment until until December 35th of 2025. This allows you time to levy that amount and get that first part of that levy in. June 15th of 2026, the district of residence pays the second half of the tuition to the district of attendance. And remember, if there's any transportation involved in here, that also has to be paid as well. And that is by December 31st of 2025. Now we've got our forms. We've got 3 types of forms that we have to fill out. We've got the FP 14-1, which is the parent or the district student attendance agreement. And that is parent or guardian, or if you've got a district to district agreement, and I'll explain that later. But this is just general tuition. If your kiddo is in a foster or a group home, you fill out the FP 14-2. And we have this one separate because if it's a state-placed foster and group home, then the signatures are different on that. We have to have the signature of the group home on there, not a parent. FP 14A are for special tuition rates. And this is if you've got a kiddo that you've accepted for tuition and they've got costs that fall outside of your regular special ed cost, you can put in and you can have the district of residents pay those costs. And what I mean by that, again, just like if this kiddo has a one-on-one aid that you're paying for, if they need special equipment that only that student uses, you would put these on this FP 14A, and they would be sent to the district of residents so that they know, they have an idea of what they have to levy to pay these additional costs. I've revamped, or we have revamped the FP 14-1. You can see here that we've taken out that cost component in here. And we've done that because you guys don't know what your tuition rates are going to be until you adopt your general fund budget. So we've just taken that out completely, leave it out, because we don't know what those tuition costs are going to be when you start taking in these, when you start taking in your applications. So again, we just have the student name. One thing I want to point out on here is Be sure that when you have your district of attendance and your district of residence in right here, that you give me the name, not the district number, like number 10 or whatever. Like, if you're in Helena, I need to know the name of the schools, where they're coming from, because I don't know them by district. Here's the foster and group home. And again, we've taken out that cost component. Same thing. We've added in a couple of things up here. We've asked for printed names. And the same with on the parent district. We've made sure that we have a spot so that you can print the name. Let's see, foster group home, pretty much the same thing, except this area up in here. Signatures. And again, transportation, you fill this out, that's between the districts. And that doesn't involve anything with OPI. That's a cost that comes up between you two. And honestly, I've never seen transportation come through. So if you've got any questions on that, or you want to provide transportation, just give me a call and we'll figure it out together. On the FP14A, there are sections in here, and I'll show you those. You've got an option A rate, option B rate, option C rate, and then programs exceeding average cost. Most of the time I see these option B rates. Option C rates is for a special program, and that has to be approved by OPI. And I only have a couple of districts using that. This is the FP14A, and this is what you would just fill this out and attach it to their FP14-1 and send this to me, and send it to the district of residence. And most of the time I see this part here, option B, being used. And you can kind of see we've outlined the cost here. And it's usually the staff salary. You can include salary and their insurance and workers' comp, support service salaries. If you have to do anything extra for that particular student, you can put those costs in there. Special assistive technology and equipment, special supplies for that student. Anything else, you can send it. But be sure that you talk to your district of residence and you guys work it together. You add those costs up, and then you take out 120% of the tuition per A and B amount, and those tuition amounts are on the website, and I've got a slide in here, and I'll show you that when we get to it. Some of you have kiddos that are attending day treatment programs. For those kids, you would fill out this FP14A, and this is very important that you get this done by June 30th and in, because this is what we pay you. If that kiddo was in a day treatment program and they're in the program, you don't count them for A and B, and they have an IEP, you can put in for the DSA for that particular student. But that has to be into me by the 30th, and then they have to meet that criteria. And I do review them, and I let you know whether it's approved or not. And I'll send you a note that says these are approved and you can expect your payment. And I'll tell you when you would get that payment. Okay, this is the tuition rate. This, you want to pay attention to the fiscal year 2025 tuition per A and B amounts. And that is your maximum tuition per A and B amount plus your instructional block grant rate and your related services block grant rate. And I provided a link in here and to get to those on our website. And here is just how I calculate that tuition per A and B amount. It's just the maximum A and B for your grade and accreditation plus the block, your block grants. When we calculate the tuition between the two districts, it's calculated and you've got district of attendance and you've got your district of residents. You use the lowest tuition between those two, between your two districts. And this just explains how they calculated out the percentages. And it's based on your base levy for your elementary. If you're K-12, you add in your high school plus your over base levy and you divide it by your adopted general fund budget for the current year. That's why we can't get these out. And we don't know the tuition rates until you've adopted your general fund budget. And then it's calculated separately. You've got one for your elementary, you've got one for your middle school, and you've got one for your high school. High school and middle school are the same. And this is an accredited middle school. If you're just a K through 8, you would use elementary, but if you've got accredited 7, 8, you would use the same rate as the high school. Okay, so you complete your FP 14-1s and your 14As, and you get all the necessary approvals. You enter those into MAEFAIRS no later than the 30th of June in the year of attendance. You enter the days enrolled at the conclusion of the school year, and you submit the claim to OPI by June 30th. You can start adding these in now, just don't hit that submit until the 30th of June, because once you hit submit, then you got to call me and have it unsubmitted, and so that you can make changes. And then you send a bill to the resident district by July 15th after the year of attendance. And it's the same thing for your foster and group home tuition process. There's another type of tuition that you may be getting, but this comes directly from your in-state treatment facilities. You've got to pay a portion of the daily rate, 40% of the tuition per A and B amount divided by 180. If anybody gets those, I do get a lot of phone calls from people asking me questions on that. I really don't do the in-state facility tuitions, but I can answer those questions. I know that some of you have been getting invoices from them, but they're not supposed to send those. They are on the same timeline as the districts for sending out those requirements. They don't need to send them to you until the end of the year. And you should get those by July. Okay. I'm just going to kind of go over these a little bit because we'll get into this. Um, uh, we get into this after I get through this slideshow. I'll kind of go through and show you how it's done. And I provided in the chat the uh, guidance manual on how to go through and do this. It's not perfect, but it's going to get us through this year. To get to it, you go into data entry and you select tuition, and it'll bring up this screen. Right now, you need your student ID or your state ID. It's the 7-digit number out of Infinite Campus. You put that in, and it will populate the kids this information up here. It should populate the district of residence, but if it doesn't, I'll figure that out and I'll let you know. But you gotta know where they're coming from. Their date attendance begins will populate, days enrolled will come up. You have to put in the instruction days in the school year. We couldn't get this to talk properly with Infinite Campus, and we're working on that. But right now, a lot of this is going to be manual. You'll put in who's making the student placement. And once you do that, and once the district of residence is populated, the regular ed rate is going to come up. It's going to automatically choose for you which one is the lower rate between the district of residence and the district of attendance. Then if you've got any of your special options, special ed rates, you would fill these in. If you've got transportation, you would fill these in down here. Most of you are just going to be putting in this information up in the top. Also, whoops, sorry. There's going to be an area for comments, and those are going to be saved in there. Some of you guys have big districts, and you may want to put some notes in there on the particular student that you're bringing in. We've got some reports out there. To get to those, you go to reports, tuition, and then these up here, these top two are what you're going to be looking at. The approved attendance agreements for district of choice works right now, but it's not perfect. The attendance agreements for district of choice, these work great. And these are what you will use for invoicing to the district of choice. And again, these are your reports that are available. This one shows that first report. It'll give you the student name, their state ID, what their tuition is, the days enrolled, and then it will give you over here the prorated days that this student is for 42 days, so it calculates out based on the regular tuition rate how much that person is going to owe. But right now, this isn't working. I've got it in to get corrected. So I am going to suggest that we use this particular report, which is the second one on the list, and I will let everybody know as soon as that first one is fixed. This one is what you're going to send to the district of or to the resident district, the district of choice. It will print out an invoice for each student in there. For this example is I pulled Absorki Elementary, and they've got a kiddo coming from Anderson Elementary, Fishtail, and Red Lodge. And it will give the student name, their grade, their start date, how many days they were enrolled, their regular tuition rate, if they have any sped tuition, and then it'll give you the total tuition. This one coming from Fishtail, this is just a direct, no extenuating circumstances students, and it just shows that they have two students coming from Fishtail, and this is their tuition that they need to pay you, and then this is also the tuition that they would add in to levy in their tuition levy. Fishtail would use this right here. Same with Red Lodge. If you are a district of residence, I got to make sure I say this right because I get these confused a lot. District of residence, you can go in and you can select under views tuition, and you select this first one, District of Residence students who are attending out of district. And it's going to give you a list of your kiddos that you can expect an invoice from. It gives your kiddos and what district they're attending. And this is, I've taken out Knoxon High School would run this report. And it's going to show these two students here are attending Thompson Falls High School. And it tells their regular tuition rate, anything else in here added. And then this is your estimated payment due. Okay, again, when do you pay this tuition? You pay the first half by December 31st, following the year of attendance, and the second half by June 15th, following the year of attendance. And those of you that put in for your FP15s, I process those as soon as they get in. And as soon as I get those approved, I'll let you know, and then we'll put in for the payment and you can get that payment. How do you pay for your tuitions? You can pay with your permissive levy from the tuition fund or from your general fund or from any other legally available fund in the district at the discretion of your trustees. Non-voted levy notice requirements by March 31st. Be sure that you, again, and we talk about this in the election, in our election webinars that we do with MASBO every other week, be sure you notice your tuition in your resolution, and that has to be done by March 30th. March 31st. If you don't notice it, you cannot levy it. With limited exception, most of these go into the general fund, and anything with transportation goes into the transportation fund. There are some instances where it will go into your tuition fund or it will go into your Fund 15. And then these, we've just given you some guidance on how you need to code your revenues. Remember, if you put anything into your 15 fund, you've got to have a project reporter code. And here is revenues again. These go into your O1 fund, and you've got districts from other, or tuition from other school districts in the state. You're going to use 1320. Out of state, you're going to use 1330. And tuition, state paid tuition goes to 3117. If you put it into your Fund 13, it's going to be your district tax levy, 1110. Payments for the state for day treatment goes into 3110. And then for Fund 15, don't forget your project reporter codes. And again, here we go. They're just kind of all laid out for you. Be sure that special education, you use that, because remember, we use that 280 to determine your how much you've paid out of your SPED accounts. Transportation, same thing here. Okay, so this is the permissive special education permissive levy. Again, the district of residence is going to use the permissive levy calculator to figure out what they can permissive levy to pay for this. But if you've got questions on this, we'll go through this. You can give me a call, and I've done that where I've gone through and worked with people one-on-one to get this, to use this calculator. And we update those in June. And this gets you in the ballpark of what you need to levy. Remember, I had a call the other day from somebody who was using the permissive levy to levy more money to cover SPED costs, but you don't do that. You don't use the levy for that purpose. You only use the levy to calculate costs that are above and beyond what you already get paid for your special ed. Don't use it to increase your revenue. You can't use it for that. That's only used to cover costs that are outside of the normal. This is just a picture of the permissive levy tuition. You just put in your LE, and then when they're updated, it will pull up all the information and it will fill it in for you. And then you just move forward from there. It'll calculate out your what you need to levy in the mills and all of that. Tuition and attendance guidance is out there on the OPI website. We've got the forms out there. We'll have guidance and then your calculation spreadsheets. We will get these updated. I know I already have the 2026 forms out there, the FP14 ones out there, and I will be updating all the guidance as soon as I get it all approved. Calculation spreadsheets, they're out there and they're ready to be used. Okay, a lot of you are wondering how, when you get your tuition in, what do you do with it on the general fund budget sheet? And how does that look? I know Autumn is doing a presentation this afternoon on the general fund budget sheet. So I just took some pictures just to give you a quick look. When you come into the general fund budget sheet, you're going to put in, I used Winifred Schools because they have all of their stuff out there right now in MAEFAIRS. So I just pulled their numbers for this year. You just put in your LE number and it brings it up, and it brings up all of this information over here. It brings up your highest budget without a vote, your highest budget with a vote. I used so that I could get the numbers in there because taxable values aren't out yet. So I used last year's taxable value. And again, this is just to give you an idea. This isn't exact. And then this number right here is put in on the non-levy revenue sheet. I'll show you that in the next slide, and it brings it in automatically up to here. So when you bring up your, when you're using the general fund budget sheet, you go to the non-levy revenue tab and you enter the tuition expected to be received from the district of residence for all of your out-of-district students. In this example, I used their expected tuition of $30,031.66. And I put that right in here, 1320. I put that in, and then it brings it into here. Okay. Before I brought that in, I left this component out, and the mills that they, for their general fund, if you go to the mills tab on that general fund budget sheet, before I entered in the tuition that they would receive, you can see that their mills for their general fund base are 36.20. After I added them in, it lowered those mills to 20.65. Again, here's the general fund spreadsheet, and then the before, and then the after. Okay. Let me go through questions. And you can either unmute or put your question in the chat. And Lacey, are you out there?
Yep,
Okay.
there's quite a few questions.
Yeah, I'm looking through them. I'm going to start at the top and go through. If anybody wants to unmute and ask a question, go ahead. Yes, I'll put the slides out there. They'll
Andrea?
be available. Yes.
This is Logan Labby at Superior.
Hi, Logan.
I don't know how everybody else is feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed, but in a good way. I think maybe going through the questions, I mean, feel free to do so, but putting them in a list on a, with answers and sending it out with the slideshow would be really beneficial for everybody.
I'll do that. That's a good suggestion. Okay, so let's see. Address for OPI, that's on the OPI website. You just send them to the, if you're sending me your attendance agreements, just use the PO box. Lacey, can you find that and put that in the chat?
Andrea, this is Candy with Hardin School District.
Hi, Candy.
And my question is, we have 3 school districts that I have resident school districts that I've sent the FP14s to 3 times, and their board chair is not approving them and not being sent back to me. What do we do in that situation?
Law is silent on that. It doesn't mean that they don't have to pay the tuition, because the law is very clear on that. You process them, you get them in MAEFAIRS, and you send them an invoice.
Okay, thank you. And just
Okay.
mail those to you without their signature on it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda put in there the file, in the chat, the file transfer service. I'll be sure to have that file transfer link in the guidance that I'll provide you. Can we verify whether pre-K students are or are not included in these tuitions? We ask because pre-K is not compulsory. If you're pre-K, if they can be counted for A and B, the best way to remember that, if they can be counted for A and B, then they pay tuition. Do we prorate attendance on the invoice? Yes, that's done for you on the invoice. Where in-
Andrea,
yes,
this is Jamie Fuller from Augusta Schools. Two questions for you. So I did an out-of-district attendance agreement with Sims.
uh-huh,
The kiddo in question has an IEP.
uh-huh,
I did not do the FP 14A
uh-huh.
for this. So is it for this year? So is it too late to request those additional
No, but
ed funds?
no, it is not too late. You can do that. They just need to know so that they can levy for those funds. Now, remember that these are costs outside of the normal. So they're that would include, does this kiddo have a one-on-one aid? Does this
So
kiddo need a special iPad to communicate? Things
So it
like
wouldn't
that.
it wouldn't be for any basic IEP stuff, then it would be only if they have like a one-on-one aid or have to have special adaptive equipment. Is that what I'm
Correct.
understanding?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. So then that answers my first question. My second question, I had a little tiny district call me and say, I think you have a couple of our kiddos that go to school there. And I said, well, I have them down as they live in Fairfield district. Well, turns out they live in this other district.
Okay.
But I had already had my tuition agreements approved with Fairfield School District. So what do I do in that case? There's gonna be like 4 of them, I believe. 4 of them. I'm not sure.
Okay, so the ones, because you've already got the parent signature and all of that, I would just send them, even though they were approved by the other district, send them on to the correct district. I wouldn't fill out new ones.
So even though they've been signed and approved by the wrong district, which I thought that was the district that they actually lived in, turns out it's not.
Yeah. You can just attach another sheet to what you've already got, but I would just make sure that you have signatures from the correct district.
So just send a letter just saying I got
You
this
know,
approved by the wrong
just
district.
send the whole, I would send the whole thing to them and just have them fill out their portion of it.
Just the board approval portion of it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then do I need to let the district that I initially had sent everything to know that, oh, by the way, those actually aren't your kids?
You can, I would.
Okay.
Because you'll have to, you haven't put anything in Infinite Campus, in
MAEFAIRS, no, I have not.
Okay, all right. Okay. Just make sure that it's correct in Infinite Campus too.
Oh, which district they attend
Yes.
or which district they're from?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I will look
Okay.
into that then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, does this payment process apply to entities other than school districts such as correctional programs? That one's from Melvin. Melvin, are you talking about when you need to pay the correctional people? I don't deal with that. I just deal with it between the school districts. I'd have to go in and look and see what law says on the correctional programs. Not real clear on that.
Andrew, this is Jamie Fuller from Augusta again. Do you guys
Yeah.
have like a link or whatever that you can send us to be able to type in addresses to confirm 100% which school district they're actually in?
No. Sorry, you have to,
Because I have students that are in one school district for elementary, another school district for high school, and their address actually says a different town completely than either of the two districts that they actually are supposedly in.
Yeah, that's a good question. And you kind of have to be a detective on that. We use ArcGIS to look at the address to find out
Okay.
what school district they're in. But sometimes that ArcGIS uses the location of the mailbox. And you can't do that. You have to do the location of the house. Where is that house sitting?
I don't know where these people live at, and I don't really want to go drive up to their house just to verify that. I mean, that's an intrusion of their.
If you've got an address, you can Google the address.
Okay.
All
right.
And if you need help with that, give me a call and we'll go through the ArcGIS and I can show you how to do that.
Okay. Thank
Because
you.
we've had I believe it was Absorki had an address where I looked at it and I go, wait a minute, they're in Red Lodge. And she said, no, if you go look at the house is in the Absorki school district because it was Googling where the mailbox was, which was in the Red Lodge school district. But actually where that kid lived, the house location was in the Absorki school district. So that took a little bit of detective work. It was kind of fun. But yeah. Okay. How does the district of residents know the amount to budget for the tuition in the month of March? You don't have to, Roger, you don't have to have that amount. You just have to notice that you're going to have a tuition levy because if you don't notice it when you get that final amount, you can't levy for that amount. So you can say in your resolution that you're going to levy tuition for, let's say, $1,000, but that doesn't tie you to that $1,000. When you know that amount, when you submit your budget, you're going to know exactly what you're going to have to levy. But if you don't notice it, you can't levy it.
Hey, Andrea, this is
Yes.
Denise Williams. Can I comment on that
Yes,
a minute?
please.
Because I'm in Missoula and we have several agreements going both ways. We've got, our kids attending in other districts, and we have other districts' kids attending here. So for the tuition levy, what we were planning to do, because we have a lot of those, and it's an estimate in March, that's true, but you kind of want to get it as close as you can if possible, so you're not overstating it. So what we were planning to do, or we still need to get together and talk about it, but we're going to take the tuition that we would have to pay, assuming that each of those students attended in that other district for the full year. Now, if we know for a fact that our resident kid didn't enroll there, I mean, it's a communication thing between us and the other district if possible, and we're going to try to accomplish that. But you have agreements in hand. We have several agreements in hand. So we could, on a big Excel spreadsheet, calculate what we anticipate having to pay in fiscal year 2026. And we have that information now. So our plan, or my plan, is to gather that around March 1st and get a rough calculation going. And then if we want to fine tune it for special education costs that we will end up getting charged for too. Or for prorated amounts, yeah, we'll try to fine tune it. But I feel like everybody who has agreements with other districts for your resident kids that are attending in other districts, if you have those in hand, you should be able to make some kind of a reasonable estimate for your March 31st intent for permissive levies. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Denise. That's a very good point. We know what it's going to be. And like Denise said, use those numbers. Is the FP14 form considered complete if the district of residence checked the acknowledges receipt of this agreement box and sign it? I have had some forms returned like this. Yeah, if they return it, signed, then yes, it is complete. What if the district of residence doesn't send, I think we already answered this, doesn't send back your agreement? Just because they have to pay. You have it on hand. You've done what you did. Do your due diligence to get them back. But it doesn't exempt anybody from not paying tuition. Everybody has to pay tuition. Do we have to do new FP14s for this current school year and redo all the ones we have done so far this year? Not sure what you're asking there, but yes, you have to have new FP14s every year.
Andrea, my question was, do we have to use the new form that just came out in January that I found by accident last week?
No, because I updated it for 2026. So whatever you have out there for 2025, you're good.
But we have to do the special form if we're charging extra tuition for special education.
Yes, be sure to have that, yes, and get that sent so that your district of residence knows what's coming their way. You know, anytime you guys have anything out of the ordinary or you think is weird, just call your district, call the clerk of the district of residence and talk. And you know, just communicate. Like Denise said, communication. Everybody's going to have to pay tuition. Nobody can get not, you know, just because you don't sign an FP14 doesn't make you not have to pay. Everybody has to pay. Please clarify who is creating the invoice. It is created in MAEFAIRS after you enter them. Yes, it is created in MAEFAIRS after you enter in the information. I would like to have an option on the FP14s for the parents to print their names. Some are illegible. I've provided that on there on the new FP for the 2026. There is an area to print the name. Districts should be using the tuition calculator to determine actual cost. Yes. It's also actual cost on the FP14. You pretty much know what you're going to pay your one-on-one age. You know what your costs are going to be when they go on that FP14A, but you can also put them into the tuition calculator and just check your work. Are we billing for students in early literacy? There has been some confusion on that. Only if you're getting A and B on them do you include them.
Andrea, this
Yeah.
is Lonnie from Marley. I have a quick question.
Okay.
I put it in the chat, but I'll just ask you about the
Okay.
4-day, 5-day school week thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be getting less money than when I'm paying out to other schools because we're on a 4-day school week. Can
Uh-huh.
I put 180 in that spot so I get paid the full amount?
It goes by your calendar.
Well, that doesn't seem right because we educate the same number of hours as a 5-day school week.
I honestly don't know how to answer that right now. I'll have to let me get back with you on that. I think
All right,
that's come
sounds
up
good.
a couple of times.
I mean, I just don't, I want to be able to get every dollar I can, you know.
Yeah, I
don't want
know.
to shortchange myself. Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
Andrea.
I know. I'll get back with you on that and I'll let everybody know on that too, because I know that there are other 4-day weeks in there and I know that that question has come up.
Andrea, this is Bridget
Yes.
Perry from Hall District. I was wondering the same because we have two other districts that our students go to, and they're both on different modified, like all three of us have a different calendar with different
Uh-huh.
days, but
Yeah.
we're all recording the same hours. So
Okay. Yeah, let me get clearance on that and I'll let everybody know.
Hey, Andrea, this is
Yeah.
Denise again.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I think that, and I just sent a private message to Lonnie because she started the conversation, but I think I have it sorted out in my head. But with respect to these different school calendars,
Mhm.
that doesn't matter. That's kind of the short answer. Whatever the calendar is for that other district does not matter because that's sort of taken care of in the calculation of the tuition rate, where you're looking at each other's general fund budgets and how much of the local levy is, the percentage and all of that we didn't go over. It's just a bigger part of the whole big picture, but that's taken care of in the rate. So we need to kind of go back to the intent of the law in the first place. But when it comes down to charging, um, you're going to be charged by the other district for your resident kids, right? Your resident kids are going to a different district, and that's why you're being charged. They're going to charge you the full tuition rate if that student attends for the full year. If you have to prorate, they're going to charge you based on their school year, not yours. It truly doesn't matter. It's taken care of in the tuition rate. So likewise, if you have kids from who are residents of other school districts attending in your district, you're going to look at your own schedule. So if they attend in your district all year, you're going to charge them that full tuition rate that was established, right? If they don't attend, or I shouldn't say attend, I should say enrolled, because a kid can be enrolled and not attend, right? So we need to use the right words. They're enrolled in your district. So if they leave and they're only enrolled in your district, so for a half of the year, then you will base that half of the year based on your school schedule, not theirs. You don't need to look at everybody's altogether. You will get your maximum amount that you're due based on your own school schedule. It's taken care of through the tuition rate.
So Denise, I just put the 148 days if they came a full year, and then the rest would be whatever if they were left.
Right. So
Right.
yeah, that's what I was writing to Lonnie is maybe you take that because the tuition rate you're putting on the form represents what you're allowed to charge for a full school year, right? So maybe you take that and you guys can agree or disagree with me. I'm open to this, but you would take that tuition rate divided by the number of days, which in this case you said is 148, and get a daily rate. And then you look at the number of days they were actually enrolled, and then that would get you your amount that you would charge to prorate.
To prorate. Correct.
Which is what MAEFAIRS is going to do for me when I put in those lesser numbers.
Correct. So if
Oh,
they're there
perfect.
for the
Yay.
full calendar year, you're going to get paid the full calendar year.
So it's done in days, Andrea, in
Well,
MAEFAIRS?
the only time it's done in days is if we have to prorate it. Like if they've only been in your district for 50 days, then it's going to prorate it, but it's going to prorate it based on that entire year. So I think at
How do
the
you
So
guys-
in that form, when we're entering it in MAEFAIRS, it's asking us to put in annual pupil instruction days. That's where I'd put the reduced number of days that they actually attended.
yeah.
Or, okay, okay.
Well, yeah, because it'll take that number, and if they're only there part of the year, then it's going to prorate that, but it's going to take that full amount and prorate it. But if you're there for the full year, it's not going to prorate it. Like if you've got one school is 160 days and you're 140 days, it's not going to prorate it based on that. That's an entire year. So
Okay,
you're
but when
gonna
I'm
get
entering
paid,
a student, I want to see the number of days they were enrolled, and I'm putting them into MAEFAIRS. A full year for me would be 148, but this kid only came for 126. In that annual pupil instruction days slot in MAEFAIRS, I would put 126.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Andrea, this is
Yes.
Rebecca. I have the form up on my screen, and I just want to clarify that there's a field that says days in school year where you'd put your full number of days, and down at the bottom there's a blank that says days enrolled.
Yes.
So that's where it's going to calculate. So Lonnie, you'd want to use both numbers, I guess.
Okay, so there's
Yeah,
two
you
separate
do.
slots.
There's
Yeah,
two
you do.
fields though. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Keeping me on my toes. Okay. Let's see. Should be appropriate. And then what type of information would be appropriate in the notes? Whatever's going to help you remember what you put in there. We have student attendance agreements this year who are needing extra service, which we don't have for this year since we were unaware. To come back to that one, does tuition levy need to be included in our election resolution? We've already talked about that. I'm looking, let's see, the election. Can you share the new students? Okay. The new student attendance agreements, somebody provided that link. We have 2 out-of-district students who have IEPs with approved special tuition. Can we still do those? Okay, again, this one is you have 2 students coming in on FP 14-1s, but no special tuition forms. Can we still do those? Yes, you can. Do we only enter kids in here that attend our districts from other districts? Use the tuition in MAEFAIRS to enter in the tuition data. Those are for all your tuition students. So it would cover just your regular tuitions and then your foster and group home tuitions, your state paid tuitions, your FP15s. My tuition tab in MAEFAIR says foster and group home tuition at the top. Yes, I've got that in to be changed, but it's tuition for everybody. They need to update that. The link on the OPI webpage updated FP 14-1s. If you click on this one that says 2026, it works. They should work. Let me know. It is based on the days enrolled, not the, okay. Just need to, okay. You guys are answering my questions for me. Does anybody have any other questions? We can take a quick break and then we'll go through
Andrea, this is
Yeah.
Heather Mundy at Coyote Prairie School. I have a question that I think got lost in our discussion. I have
Okay.
a student that is exactly 50-50 as far as the divorce decree, and there's no they have equal guardianship, and one lives in one district and one lives in another. So the FP 14 was sent to both of them at 50-50, but how do I enter that into MAEFAIRS?
you are going to have 2 entries for that student.
So will
That-
MAEFAIRS allow me to have 2 entries for
Yes.
the same
Yeah.
for one student?
Yeah, it will. because we've got some kids that go back and forth weekly.
Right.
And there was no way to work with the calendars in Infinite Campus to have them come into MAEFAIRS and do that. So yeah, we're gonna have to keep track of those.
So when we enter them, then do we put the full days of enrollment? Because if it does it that way, wouldn't both districts be charged the full amount?
No, because you would put them in for the number of days, because you're going to have a district of residence for like, district of residence is going to be A, and then you're going to have another one for that same kiddo B, and then you would just put in their enrollment days.
For
each.
both, so
For
full
both,
enrollment.
yeah. So for like A, if it's 50 days at that one, then it's going to generate a bill for 50 days for District A, and then it'll generate a bill 50 days for District B.
Okay, so if we have 151 days, then do I put 151 days in each one, or do I split that in half?
You base it on your calendar days. You put
Right.
in those calendar days, and then their enrollment days, you would go 50 and then 50 on the other one, on one and on one. So your days in school year, you're going to put in, because you're going to have your attendance begins in there that you got to put in.
I just want to make sure that the school districts of residents aren't getting charged the full amount because it's 50-50.
They won't. It's going to
Okay.
prorate them.
Okay, so I still put my entire days of enrollment in there.
Yeah,
in
you
each
put your
one.
days of enrollment, and then it'll say, well, you put in your, where is it? Days in school year are going to be the same. Who's got some data out there that I can look at? I want to be sure I get this right. Tell you right.
Andrea, while you're in there, when
Yeah.
you click that data entry tuition, does yours say foster and group home
It
tuition at the
does.
top? And so that's where we're supposed to enter all of them, even though it says
Yes,
that?
it's supposed to say, they were supposed to take that off and put in tuition.
Okay,
But that's where you're supposed to go.
thank you.
Hang on one second. What do I have here? Let me look at Winifred real quick. I want to look at one of theirs.
Andrea, this is Rita
Yeah.
Huck, from
Hi,
Help Me
Rita.
Project. Are we supposed to be able to put the information in now?
Yeah, but it's coming up. I was just in there and it's bombing out on me.
Yes, it is. I get an error. I've tried the same student about 3 or 4 times and it will not
And it
allow
just
me to
keeps-
save.
I don't know what they're doing. Okay, I'm gonna have to check on that. And our programmer's out. Yeah, it keeps bombing out on me. Huh. Okay. So much for that, huh? I can't even get in there and show you now. Okay, does everybody want to take a quick break? Be back here at about 10:25. Let's just take a 10-minute break and let me go out there and see what I can do on this. And Lacey, you want to stop the recording?
Yep, I will.
Okay, and I'll see you guys back here at 10:20. Well, let's go to 10:30. Give me a second to figure this out. Okay, is everybody back? Give you a couple more minutes.
Hi, Andrea. This is Taylor Salmi. I'm a special ed director for one of our special ed co-ops.
Hi, Taylor.
And when everybody's back, could I ask a question for clarification? Because I do all of the tuition fund calculations for all of our districts. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Okay. What co-op are you with, Taylor?
The Cabinet Mountain Co-op.
Andrea?
Yes.
My name's Bridget. I'm in Missoula, and I'm curious about on the form where we're supposed to enter the student's state ID.
Uh-huh.
unless it's a returning student, like they're re-upping their out of district for the following year, we don't know that state ID number until they're enrolled with us. How do you want to navigate that?
So are you talking about like if you have open enrollment and you get a new student before?
Correct. So we send out the form, they return it, they're approved to then fill out the enrollment paperwork and move forward in that direction. But I don't have access to that information until I enroll the student. That's when their state student ID is populated for me.
Yeah. Just you can move forward without that number, but because you're not going to need it until you enter it into MAEFAIRS.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I have a quick question. We only enter students into MAEFAIRS that are coming into our school, not the ones going out?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Andrea. This is Stacy Montgomery from
Hi,
Foresight.
Stacey. Go ahead.
I was looking at entering the stuff into the MAEFAIRS. At the bottom, it says non-IEP student. So if I check that, then it asks programs exceeding average cost. I guess I don't understand.
Let me get to the right screen because my test screen is different from, let me get into production and let me look at that screen. If you have just a regular kiddo with no extenuating circumstances, you don't enter in anything below individual making requests. That only applies if that kiddo has a special ed option.
Okay, so just do the days in the school year and then the days enrolled, but none of the in between. If my special ed option are blank, then nothing else.
Nothing else. Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just kind of going back. Does anybody have any other questions that aren't in chat? I'll have to go. I think I got everything in chat.
Andrea, is it okay if I ask my question really quick then?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so this is Taylor, and so when I'm doing the tuition fund calculations for kids, just looking at the FP14, because we have a spreadsheet that calculates the individual student costs that then you plug into the OPI calculator that generates your permissive levy. But so there's been a little bit of confusion, I think, when people are calling to ask how to fill out the FP14s, because our one-to-one students, they don't necessarily always have the same exact aid, but they will have different aids throughout the day. So they're getting, say, 7 hours of services per day by a one-to-one aid, but the aid may rotate. When we calculate that individual cost, that's fine. We can bill for the salary and benefits of that student's costs, even if it's different aids throughout the day, correct?
It's supposed to be that aid is with that student and only that student.
But we would never do that in terms of like best practice for intervention for students would not be to put one aid with one student all day, every day, or for collective bargaining issues. They can't go over a certain amount of hours. So the student cost is based on what that student costs throughout the day. And we factor in that those aid costs may vary. So if you have an aid that's been there for 25 years versus one, throughout the day, their cost is going to be lower, but the student cost is what's important, right? That's been the guidance that we've gotten for years, is that it's a student cost because it's about the student, not the adult providing the services, because sometimes it's the special education teacher providing those services.
Right. And that's supposed to be covered when you do that, that's covered under that sped cost that you get in the general fund. The tuition calculator in that FP14A is supposed to be used only for that student.
Yeah.
Again,
but that student doesn't mean that only one adult can work with them.
Well, that's what it's supposed to, that's the intent, is that it's used for just that student.
Yeah, that student, but not a specific adult within your building.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So
just
like you
sure.
hire, like you hire Sally to come in, and Sally is only going to work with that student. That's her sole reason for being hired, is to work with that student. She doesn't help anybody else, only that one student.
See, we would never do that though, because we would rotate those aides. That student is going to have an adult with them 100% of the time, but it's not just going to be Sally.
Yeah, it has to be just Sally are the ones that you include on that. Like at Luther, when I worked at Luther, we had to hire an aide to monitor one student.
Yeah, which
and
they
that's
do
all
have
she did was help that one student.
You do have one-to-one aides, but it's not going to just be one adult with that person. It's going to rotate through adults, but the student cost is going to be higher.
Yeah.
And the tuition fund calculator accounts for that.
Yeah, let me check on that, and let me get back to you, because the way I understand it and the way I was taught, it's just that one, Sally is for Bob.
Yeah, that's very different guidance than we've gotten from OPI in the past, and that's where the confusion is lying. And so
that would be
really helpful.
Yeah, let me check, and I will. What's your number, Bridget? And
it's Taylor. It's 406-827-3007.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have that same question. If you could share that out with everybody, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, I will. I'll go through and I'll write all these down. There is some guidance out there that has questions. I know MASBO has put together some really good guidance, but I'll take stuff from here and we'll put it out there. And the ones I have handwritten down that were verbally asked, I've got those written down, and I'll provide all of that for you all. I believe Lacey is trying to figure out, or she's tracking down why we can't get in and use this. But I'm just going to go through. I provided this link, this document to you. It's not out on the website yet, but it's in the very first chat. If you go to the top of the chat, I've given you a link to this document, or you can download it, but it'll also be on our website at some point. And because of PII and privacy rights, I can't go through and show you a school and do this because I can't. Everybody, if I work with one school, I can't share their school data or their student data. So in the end, if you guys want some one-on-one time with me to go through this, just let me know. And I've done that before. And I've been doing it a lot, is working with districts one-on-one to help them get this information put in. Please repost the document I got. Hang on. I got off here. Posted it, and I can't after you posted it. Okay, hold on. Let me do this again. Since I want to copy it. Post. Let me know if that helps, Lacey. Okay. we will just get down to the nitty gritty. Again, in this document, I've got the timeline in there. I've got the types of placements in the FP14 forms that you need to use. I've got a whole explanation in here of what each one of these fields mean. A couple of these we're going to get changed so that we Denise brought up a good point, is that attendance and enrollment are two different things. Enrollment is the number of days that kiddo that's in your school calendar, and that kiddo has been there those number of days. It doesn't mean absences. And I don't need to know that. If you've got a kid that was enrolled for 50 days at your school, but he was absent for 10, he's still enrolled for 50 days. And that's what you put in. You put in the number of days that they're enrolled. And I believe that's in the instructional school days in school year. That's how many days you're in school. That's based on your calendar in Infinite Campus. And then days enrolled are how many days that kiddo is actually, that he has been there, or his enrollment covers those days. Okay. So, when you get ready to put this information into MAEFAIRS, it's a good idea to split your screen and work in MAEFAIRS, and also have your Infinite Campus up, because you're going to be popping back and forth between the two. Or you can make sure that on your attendance agreement, you know your calendar days, you know when your school begins, you have that student ID for that kiddo. I think that's about all we need from Infinite Campus. But when I did this in test, I had both screens open and I would pop back and forth between the two, because you can go in and you can copy information and put it into MAEFAIRS and not have to type. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into data entry, and you're going to go down to tuition, and you're going to select the fiscal year, and the LE that comes up, you are the district of choice. So your LE should pop up in that top screen there. Infinite Campus, you're going to need to, if you look on the information card for that kid, you need the state ID, not their student number, but their state ID. Let me get here. Okay, so up here, you're going to have your fiscal year is going to be 2025. That's for this year. Your LE is going to populate there. You're going to put in the state ID, and you can type that in, or you can copy and paste it from Infinite Campus. What's going to populate is this information here. It's going to populate the last name, the first name of the student's birth date, the grade that they're in, and then you're going to put in their district of residence. And this one I selected Billings High School. Be sure that if you've got your grade here matches your district of residence. It will not give you an error if you put in an elementary school. And that school, then that kid is actually in the high school. So be careful what you put in here. Check that. Your calendar date, the date attendance begins, that's going to come over. You got to put that in. Instructional school days in the year are how many days you're holding classes. How many days is that kiddo going to be there? When you initially put it in for the full amount, and then you can go back in and modify if you have to. Once you do the student placement, is it a parent or guardian? It's going to populate the regular education rate. And it pulls the lowest of the rates between the two districts. So it's looking at Huntley Project and it's looking at Billings High School, and it's going to populate that field with the lowest tuition amount available out there. It also gives you the ability to figure out or to put in your aggregate hours. Is that a full-time kid? Are they there half-time? Most of these kids are going to be there full-time. The special ed option and everything below that, you don't need to worry about that unless it applies. Most of you are just going to have general tuitions. And that's what you're going to put in. You can then, if it's just a general tuition, you just go down here and you put in save, and it's going to save that information, and it's going to bring up at the bottom of the screen, and it'll start listing out your students at the bottom here.
Andrea, this is Jamie from Augusta Schools. I just went in to go enter in one of my kiddos. I entered in all this stuff and I hit the save, and it gave me an error message and kicked me out. It
blew up. Yeah, we're looking into that. It's not supposed to be doing that. And today of all days, it decided to do it. So
perfect.
Yeah, I know. Really, that's what I said. Oh, great.
Also, Andrea, this is Stacy again. On your screen, it shows aggregate hours, but on mine, it does not.
Where does it show aggregate hours? Oh, right here?
Yeah. Is that on? Yeah, my screen doesn't. It just has student placement and then nothing under that. I guess our screens don't look the same.
Okay. I'll have to check on that. It might be part of the problem too.
Okay.
Because you're supposed to have that option to do that.
Yeah, we just have days in the school year and then days enrolled.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And are you showing regular education rate?
Yep, we got regular education rate, average transportation cost.
Yeah, but everything. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So then I'm going to go how the tuition is calculated. I put in here, let me make this bigger. Whoops. If it won't let me, there we go. Okay. Can you see it now? Better? Okay. So in this particular school, let's see, I have 3 students in there. And this is just kind of a scenario, and you can go in when you start putting in this information. You can start playing with it a little bit. But this is one of those examples where I've got a kiddo in there that has 2 district of residences. And I put them in, and you'll have to enter them in twice. Same information, but you're just going to have a different district of residence. One is going to be Melstone and one is going to be Shepherd. But James Bond is straight across the board. He's in there, and for 153 days, his regular tuition is between the two. He's for Billings High School and Huntley. His tuition rate is $1,173.92, and he goes across the board. Melstone This kiddo was in Millstone for 23 days, and then he switched and he moved over to Shepherd. And so he was in Shepherd for 130 days. So it's going to pull the rate between Millstone and Huntley. And the lower of the rate is $555.48. He was there for 23 days. It's going to prorate his, and it's going to come up with $83.50. And I forgot to put his tuition rate over here. Harry Potter is, and then he's in the other district for 17. He's in the district Shepherd, and the lowest between them is going to be Shepherd, and Huntley is going to be 1712.68. He was there for 138 days. So his regular tuition rate is prorated at $997.45. And that same number should be there as well.
Andrew, this is Jamie Fuller from Augusta again.
Yeah.
Question for you. I have a snowbird student that comes to school through like the end of October. And then she's projected to come back in like April. How do I because she's gone for a certain amount of time. So do I just so she's enrolled, then she's unenrolled, and then she's re-enrolled.
So when she comes back, when you go up here, you put the date her attendance begins. So you'll get that out of if she starts in September. In August, and then you end date her, you would put in right here days enrolled, how many days she was enrolled for that particular enrollment.
So, but she comes back at the end of the school year, that same school year, for like a month, like 2 months.
So you'll re-enroll her again in Infinite Campus. You don't keep her enrolled the whole time. So
no, she's not enrolled
so then when she comes back, she's going to, you're still going to have 153 days in your school year. But when she comes back, your attendance is going to begin on, when does she come back? In March?
Like April, beginning of April, I believe. This is the first year with her.
Okay, so the date attendance begins will be in April. And then you will put in the total number of days that she is enrolled. So you're going to have to figure that out.
So I'll do like two of these for her. So one for her first enrollment, and then another one for her second enrollment.
Correct. See how I have Harry here? Harry Potter has two here. You'll have two of them for her.
Okay.
So Andrea, in a situation like that, do they need to have a second FP14 for that second enrollment?
No, you know what? That's where you could use the notes section up here. And you could say one FP14 created for the entire year. Put something in there that's going to jog your memory on that particular student.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go through and do the whole thing all over again. Just let your other district know, hey, this kid is coming back. They're going to be here for this amount of time. Then they're going to be coming back in April, whenever you said April. And so we're just going to do this one attendance agreement, but it's going to cover the whole year for this time period. Just be sure that that's on your attendance agreement, just so that you both know what's going on.
Also, Andrea, are you sharing this document with us that you're showing us?
Yeah,
right
I put it in the chat. I put it down in the chat.
Okay.
It's in the very first chat menu or chat option. Before we started, I put it in, and then I put it in towards when we just started this one.
Okay.
Okay. James Bond. Okay, so this is
Andrea, I don't think you reposted it because I don't see it either.
It's out there. Hold
Is
on.
it going to everybody or just somebody?
I can't see it either.
Oh, you know what? Thanks. Let me copy that and I have everyone. Sorry. I just gave it to Kelly. That's all. But you got, okay, there, I posted it just now. Does everybody see it? Can everybody get it?
Yep, got it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have provided out on our website, there is a document out there that we publish all of these, all of your tuition rates and based on based on your general fund budget. And this is the information out there. I just kind of took a shot of it to so that it corresponds with my example. So I have Melstone, Billings, Huntley, and Shepherd. These are all schools that are involved. Huntley is the district of choice for all of these. All right. So we've got Melstone High School, Billings High School, and Shepherd High School. These are all of your tuition rates over here on because if you have elementary, your elementary is going to be here. High school tuition rates should also include your middle school tuition rates. They're the same because if you've got an accredited middle school, you charge the same as what you would charge the high school. So you can see the difference here, and Huntley project is 1173.92, and you can see that it is the lowest between Billings and Shepherd. But when it comes to Melstone's tuition rate is 555.48. So they will use the lowest between Melstone and Huntley, which is that number when they figure that out. Here I've kind of have gone in and just kind of told you how you do figure out your daily rate for that if you've got to split your tuition. And then how the spreadsheet calculates it out or how the report will calculate it out. Again, this one is for this example here is if you've got a district to district placement, foster home or group home. Let me explain a district to district placement. Let's say you've got two schools and they're within the same district. Okay, so let's just say we've got Billings School Elementary School District, but then within that Billings Elementary, we have how many schools are in Billings? A lot of them, a lot of different elementary schools. And let's say you've got a kid on the south side, or you got a school on the south side and you've got a school on the west side. And the kid on the south side has some needs that that the school on the west side can better accommodate. All right. So they're both within the same district, but south side says and the west side talk and west side says, yeah, I think we can better serve your kid. Go ahead and send him over here. So in that case, you have a district to district agreement. You have two schools within the same district. One can better serve a kiddo, so they're going to send that one to the school that can better serve. You would still have to have a tuition agreement out there for that kiddo, but they're within that same district. So that's where you would have a district to district placement. Most of you are going to do parent guardian placements, but all this information down here below the regular ed rate is going to pertain to district, foster home, or group home placement. When you have that kind of placement, you have to indicate who is making that placement. Is it the parent or the guardian? Is it a state agency, or is it a court? Most of the time it's going to be state agency or a court, but a parent can also put their kid in a group home setting if they want. They can also put them in foster home. I've never really seen it, but I have seen a parent place their kid in a group home. And that just kind of goes through that. Then down here, this is where you're going to have your special ed options. And whether you're going to go, and this is where your student with needs, no IEP. What that means is that you've got a student who has needs above and beyond normal cost, but he doesn't have a formal IEP. And that's where you would go in and you would click student with needs, no IEP, and these special rates would come up. And again, I know this can be confusing. If you've got any questions on this or need help with this, please give me a call and I'll help you individually. Your special ed options, again, they're going to be your A. Special ed is going to be option A, B, or C. If you put in an option C rate, that has to be approved by OPI. And again, that is for a program, and I only have 2 people participating in that, and that would be Yellowstone Boys and Girls Home, and Evergreen has a program special for that. Oh gosh, I wish I could show you these on these things. Okay, again, here we go through the reports. Right now, on this particular one, I would use the attendance agreements for district of choice, because this one I don't have, it's not running right. It's in for changes, but it's not giving you the correct data. So look at attendance agreements for district of choice. And then you just go in and you select your district, and it will print these out. I think I put in here the correct numbers that it should be showing. Actually, nope, they're not. We will skip over that. This is the one again where you go in and Huntley Project will print these out, and each individual invoice, she'll get one for Billings High School, she'll get one for Melstone, and she'll get one for Shepherd. And it lists out their names and who they send them for. Remember, Harry Potter was in there twice because he had 2 district of residences. He had one for Melstone and one for Shepherd. So Melstone is going to get this one for $83.50, and Shepherd is going to get this one for $997.45. The tuition views are used by the district of residence so that you can pull it, and it should, Shepherd would go out there and they would pull theirs, and they would see that they're going to expect to get an invoice from Huntley Project for this amount of money. Melstone would go out there and pull theirs, and they can expect to get one from Huntley Project for $83.50. Here are
Andrea,
just, yep.
question. This is Jamie from Augusta again.
Yeah.
Sorry. So on
That's
this,
okay.
on these special tuition rates, the FP 14A, it says choose option A, B, or C. Option A, at least half-time special education services. So
don't use that one. That
so
one.
you can't use that option then?
You can, but it again, it applies to a specific type of student. Most of your kids are going to be the option B. If you have an option A, call me. I had somebody run through that with me the other day, and it was too much work for that option A. It was
so because like if the kid has 15 or more hours a week on an IEP, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a kiddo that would probably qualify for that, but he doesn't. They don't require a one-on-one aid for that child. So would that not?
If it's for cost above and outside the scope of regular, yes.
Okay. All right.
Let me, Jamie, call me and let's run it together.
Okay. That sounds good. Thanks, Andrea.
All right. Okay. Okay, in this example, I just put in, they have a regular tuition rate of $196.87. He was enrolled for 153 days, so he comes across as 196.87. The districts did include transportation, and then the total tuition that you can expect to collect for that kid is going to just add all of this up, and it's going to be $1196.87 to include your tuition. But that's kind of how it does it. It does it all the way across, and over here, it will give you your total tuition due. And this is how it looks in that other report. You've got programs exceeding cost. You put in 1,000, your regular tuition, but you've got these costs over here. It will add it into your total annual tuition and give you that information there. And then it shows up on the invoice here as well. And tell you what you need to, what it will cost you there to send out. And then it tells you also in here, this is the spreadsheet. And they will owe to, this is just how it comes across on the report that the District of Residence pulls. And then I have examples in here of prorated amounts and how they're calculated and how they come across on the report as well. This is that one that's not calculating correctly, but I made it calculate correct. The kiddo was enrolled for 50 days and it prorates the programs exceeding cost, and it gives you your total tuition that you're going to have there. And that's the end of that. Do we have, wow, we got a lot of questions. I'm reading Felicia's thing. Tuition is now included to fund the base. Which spreadsheet are you using, Felicia? What are you talking about? Should the school of the residents that's sending a student to Evergreen program get an FP 14A and an FP 15 or, oh, it won't let me unmute. I was using currently on the OPI website. The general fund spreadsheet, Felicia? Okay. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask out loud?
have one for you, Andrea. This is
Okay,
just
go
a
ahead.
target range. I just pulled one of mine to just try to enter into MAEFAIRS, and it does say the foster and group home tuition at the top of the screen.
Yes,
But
it does.
and for student placement, though, I don't have the option of a parent guardian making the request. I only have the foster and group home or district to district.
Okay. Something's going on with the website right now. And I don't know what it is. It was.
Are you gonna let us know when it's fixed and we're able
Yeah,
to
I will.
start?
Yes, absolutely, I will. It doesn't have the what on there? Again, tell me. It doesn't give you that option?
Right, thought I was unmuted. It doesn't give me the option for placement of the parent guardian. I only have foster group.
Yeah, no. When you put in parent or guardian, you don't need to do the student placement.
When I tried to save it, it's making me do that, and
It's
I
making
can't
you
move
do.
forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
something's not right. They did something. Yeah. I don't know what they did. Yeah, I'm gonna have to let you guys know when this is up and running. Okay. I think. Okay. Does anybody have any other? I really can't go forward until this is working correctly. Any other questions that anybody wants to ask?
Andrea, this is Tim Tharp,
Okay.
Richland County Superintendent of Schools.
Yeah.
What about for this year? We were advised to budget money into the general fund on anticipation of tuition to be received for this year, and then also tuition to pay out for this year. How do we handle that?
Okay, ask that question again.
Everything I've seen is for FY26, but we were advised to when we were doing the budgeting to plan in our budget to receive tuition money from schools, and then also to plan on paying tuition starting this year.
Yeah, okay. So that goes back to the timeline on the slide deck that I went through. You're putting your agreements in now for 25, but you're not going to start collecting on them until 2026. So when you do your general fund budget, or when you do your general fund budget this year, if you use the budget fund calculator, you're going to know how much you're going to have to be paying out or how much you're going to be receiving in.
I understand that, but we were advised to plan for that for this year. And we budgeted money to be or planned on receiving tuition money starting for this year. If something we double checked repeatedly with multiple folks, and we were advised to do that.
Okay, so you're getting tuition, you got your agreements out there, but you're not going to start collecting that tuition until 2026. You're not going to get that money in.
I understand. I'm just going to talk to somebody else. You're not hearing my question. You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Tharp, this is Shelley with Masbo. Do you know who advised you on that?
I guess not.
If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email as well. I'll put my email in the chat.
Thanks, Shelley.
Hey, Andrea, this is Jamie Goss with Grass Range. You had touched on it briefly before we went to break about having parents who are divorced 50-50 that live in 2 different school districts but only have 1 child. So how do we bill each school if we account for 100% of the days of enrollment to bill to 2 different schools because the parents have 50-50 custody? So there's not one that you bill more. So the child.
So one parent is in one school district and one parent is in the other school district?
Correct.
You would have to split that enrollment and put them in twice. one for one school district and one for the other school district.
And so
just
would I
the
just
days.
split the days, even though they may have, for instance, 100% enrollment? For us, it's 152 days.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because you're the district of choice, right?
correct.
Okay. So
And
yeah, you would have 2 enrollments in Mayfairs for that kid, and you would take your 150 days and split it.
okay. And so
And
for
then you would bill one 75 days and the other 75 days.
Okay.
Jamie, you
Yes.
may also want to check and see if your school has a policy on this, or you
Which
may
we currently
create a policy.
don't. Yeah.
Because a lot of people who do have 50-50 custody, only one parent gets to claim that child on their taxes.
And
So
for this particular one,
typically-
it rotates from year to year.
Yeah, so typically, I mean, I know this becomes extremely invasive, because a lot of folks do not want to get into the parenting plans of every child in the state of Montana, that has a split family situation. So either the school takes their word for whatever parent holds the kid for 51 days out of the 100 days, or that, so that you don't have to split that every year for that child, because that becomes extremely invasive for a lot of districts. So if you're willing to do that, great. I'm just letting every school know that you can set up a plan on what works best for you in your office, because schools like Billings, who have thousands of kids, would not be able to do that tracking for every specific child.
Too much
So,
legwork, and a lot of people are not going to want to give you that information.
right. And the school districts may argue that they're not living in their district either, that the residents' districts may dispute that 50-50 situation as well. So that's kind of a case by case situation, but you may want to look at some sort of residency policy or have your board discuss best options so that you're not hamstrung by this moving forward.
Yeah, it's difficult because, like I said, 50% of the time with one of the parents, he's actually in our district, and the other 50% of the time with the other parent is out of our district. So yeah, definitely different versions going on there, and not something that's just going to be cut and dried for everything. Like you said, setting a policy or a practice of what you're going to do when that particular situation takes place. Thank you.
I have another question kind of on that same topic. We're a tiny school, and I know we're going to have to pay out some tuition, but on one family in particular, they submitted a out-of-district agreement to the town school, and they used our residence address, but the kids are actually staying with the grandparents in town. So they're living at this other residence. And are we still going to be responsible for paying for that tuition?
It's wherever they lay their heads at night.
So how do we fight that?
Okay, what school are you, Mandy?
This is for Elliston.
Okay, and you've got the kids are going to your district.
No, the kids are supposed to be in our district, but they're going to Helena.
And Helena is sending you the agreements that you've got 2 kids.
Yes.
Okay, and it's their parents live in your district?
Correct.
So yeah, you would be responsible for in that case, you would be responsible for the tuition.
But the kids aren't staying with their
It's
parents.
the parents, though. It's based on the parents' residence.
Okay.
Now, the parents were living in town. That might be something different.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Andrea, I don't know if you were able to touch on Tony's message. So she sends children to a special education specific program that's like an intensive special ed program that those kids go and attend. So she's wondering which forms, FP14, FP15, 14A, which forms she specifically should use.
Is it like is it a special where's she sending them? Like, is
She's
it
sending them to Crossroads. Most likely it's an evergreen
Yeah,
preschool, or not
okay.
preschool, but a special education program specifically mandated through their IEP.
Through there? Okay, so that would be, she would have to fill out the FP 15 and that, or the 14.2. I
Okay.
would just use that one and then
Okay.
call me and let me look at it.
Andrea, on those,
Yeah.
you didn't have that form when I sent them all out for this current school year. So are we supposed to go back and resend forms?
No, don't do that because you're not going to get the signatures. Let's just work with what we have and just give me a call.
Because I mean, we have like 40 students that have been in and out of that program this school year. So
Okay. And you already have agreements out
we've
there?
already gotten the regular FP 14 that you issued last year.
Yeah,
to
just
be used for this school year.
yeah, just give me a call and let's go through that. Because there's no way you're going to get those all back. You've got them on file, you know what they're doing. Let's just work with them and then we'll go through each one individually and take a look at it and see if you need to add anything to that. And you can just amend to that form that you already have.
Okay.
Hi, Andrea. This is Judy at the Gardner Public School. I
Yes.
hate to beat this 50-50 question topic up, but I do have just a quick question. If our board decides that they do not want to bill another district for that 50-50 student, could they decide that and put it in policy?
I don't know how to answer that. I would, because the law says that the district of residence is responsible for that tuition. I would maybe get some guidance from Shelley on that or from MTSBA.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more questions? Let me see.
Yeah, Andrea, this is
Go ahead.
Stacy from Hobson. So I have quite a few out of district kids, and so I downloaded the new FY 26 because I'm gonna have to start typing all that over in.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not fillable yet, or will it become a fillable form?
Yes.
Okay.
I just had to get it out there so that it was available because people were asking for it because they were doing their open enrollment. And I'll let you guys know as soon as it's ready.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just thought it'd be
Okay.
easier to copy and paste than to
Yeah.
sit and type all that over
Now-
or write it out. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, now I do want to point out right now, like I said in the beginning, that this entering these into MAEFAIRS is not perfect. And I know it's not perfect, but we had to get it out there. So I'm working on, you know how you guys import your compensation expenditures? And where you just go out there and you ask Infinite Campus, or yeah, you go out and you say, okay, I want to import all of these people into MAEFAIRS, and it does it. I'm working on that particular thing right now with our programmers so that you can just go out there and say, I want to import all of my added district kids, and it will bring them into MAEFAIRS for you so that you don't have to sit there and put them in individually like you're doing now. But that's not quite ready yet. But I wanted to make sure that your information coming into MAEFAIRS is only going to be as good as your information that you put in Infinite Campus. So if garbage information goes into Infinite Campus, MAEFAIRS is going to pull garbage information into MAEFAIRS. So there is, in Infinite Campus, you go in and you can put in their district of residence. That's forgot what they call it over there. I don't work in Infinite Campus, but there's a place in there where you put in for each of your added district kids, you can put in their district of residence and it will flag it in Infinite Campus. And then you can pull a report and then you can import that information into MAEFAIRS. But again, it's only going to pull in what you put in. And so that has to be accurate in order for it to work for us over in MAEFAIRS. And so I guess what I'm saying is make sure that whoever is putting your information in Infinite Campus, that they know where that is and that they're marking these kids properly. And Nicole does have out there on the website how you go in. She's got in the Ames, under their website, there is guidance on putting in your out of district kids and how you do that in Infinite Campus.
Hey, Andrea.
Uh-huh.
This is Alyssa from Whitehall.
Yeah.
I really like Becky's question about if we can pull a report showing how much we owe, do we need to invoice other school districts?
The district of attendance or district of choice is going to have to send out invoices because that's what it says in the law. They send them out. Now, like if you're Whitehall and you want to know how many kids you've got coming in, if they're put into MAEFAIRS by the district of attendance, you just go out there and you run that view. And it'll bring up it'll bring up all your students and where they're enrolled and what you can be expecting as far as invoices.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And Andrea, just to follow up, when is that information available on that report? When we save it in MAEFAIRS or when we actually click the submit to OPI button?
It should be there when you save it. Submitting it to OPI just kind of closes the door.
Thank you.
And if you do that, if you submit before, and you need to if you submit before June 30th, you can just call me and I can unsubmit it so that you can do extra work, just like what we do with enrollment and and TFS and all of that. But after that date, we can't unsubmit it.
The bottom line on all this is once the data is entered, you still may have to go back and review all of it because students shift and change. And so you'll estimate that they're going to be there the remainder of the school year or the entire school year. And then halfway through it, they've switched after you've already did the data entry. So going back and reviewing these and then reviewing the enrollments is going to be imperative toward the end of the year before submitting these out.
Hey, this is Denise from Missoula. Just hooking on to what Shelley just said. Isn't that how the tuition module has always worked? You put in the attendance agreement first, you put in what your school days are in your calendar. And then after the school year's over is when you go back in and put your actual days enrolled. Isn't that how this is going to work?
Yes.
Okay, great.
You are correct. Yes. I know I've talked to several districts where they're using spreadsheets outside of the MAEFAIRS program. And the first year or this year may not be a bad idea if you've got a lot of kids. I know there are some districts out there, gosh, I've gotten 200 and 300 attendance agreements from one district. So you got quite a few. So it might, reach out to other clerks from larger districts and see what they're doing and how they're tracking it. Just a lot of, I would encourage a lot of double checking. This first year, like I said, it's not perfect, but we'll get there. Shelley, do you have any information on the what they're proposing with the countywide?
Yeah, so it's unfortunate because it's already complicating a pretty complicated system, right? So it could be a changing. Basically right now for this year, when you look at calculating, if you did a hand calculation for a child, it would be your district residents' share of the base and the over base of your general fund budget, the percentage of that, and then the lower of the two percentages between the two districts is how you calculate out the tuition. If the law passes, that would enforce countywide equalization of mills. It would mean that every school within that county would have the same mill value, which changes that base portion of the calculation because everybody would have the same percentage or base portion. So that would alleviate that part of the formula. So then it would just be a percentage on the over base. And that's so the tuition amounts are going to dwindle significantly. That being said, that's going to hurt some districts that used to collect tuition and then are still anticipating some tuition to come in through this process. The amounts are going to go significantly down for a lot of the districts. That bill has not passed yet. Give me a second and I will pull up the bill number so that folks know what to watch.
Thank you.
Bottom line. This is Samantha from Evergreen.
Hi, Samantha.
And we run the Crossroads program and preschool programs. And in the past, we have done our invoicing through the county superintendent. We keep our own spreadsheets and send the invoices through the county. Am I understanding correctly that we are now going to be doing all of that through MAEFAIRS and OPI?
No. Keep doing it the way you're doing it.
So, no, I guess I'm going to have to call you and talk about how work separately.
Yeah.
I'm really confused.
Okay. And I might be too. But yeah. But give me a call and we'll talk about, because I think you asked me that question. And
it was with regard to the option C rates and then
because I usually don't, because you just send those invoices out now. You send them out, but your option C rate has to be approved by us. And so you continue doing what you're doing.
Okay. I'll call you and
But give me a call. Yeah. Somebody asked where you could find accounting, expenditure, and review coding. It's all in your in the chart of accounts, which is out there on school finance. Shelley put in it's HB 156, the one that we were just talking about. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? And I will put together all the questions in chat and get them out to you. If not, I'll let you guys have the rest of your day because I know you've got some more training coming up this afternoon.
Hey, Andrea, where's the link for the training this afternoon?
Andrea,
go ahead.
Can I speak to that? This is Donnie from MASBO. And the training that Autumn's going to be doing this afternoon is part of the budget series webinars that MASBO has been putting on for the months of February and March. This is a fee training, and if you are already registered for that, that is who is going to be presenting this afternoon at 1 on our budget webinar. If you are not and would like to participate, you can go to the MASBO homepage, and we posted it in the link here a couple of times where you can register for that training this afternoon. But it is part of the 8-week budget webinar series that MASBO has been putting on. Thanks.
Andrea, I do have one more thing. I'm
Okay.
Stacy from Hobson.
Yeah.
So we're a K-12 school, but we have one of those middle schools that's a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Hope any other schools are in our situation, but when I put all that into MAEFAIRS to kind of see, I will be getting reimbursed for those 6th graders that as at an elementary level rather than at that high
That's
school
correct.
level. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So it's
correct.
really not, it's just not going to be an accurate, really reflection of what our school does then, I guess, because
Yeah, no, it's still based on it. If you're not accredited K through 8, then you do elementary, and that would cover your sixth grade. If you're an accredited 7, 8, it doesn't reflect what your calendar says.
because we are accredited.
Yeah, I know, but 7
Oh.
and 8, but 6th graders, so 7th and 8th graders, you would be billing out at the middle school rate, but just because your 6th grade is included in that, they're still considered an elementary. So you would still bill them as the elementary rate. It's not because your calendar's set up differently than the accreditation.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I usually consider those 6th graders part of that middle school org, though, when I'm doing all my other stuff, you know.
Yeah, but that's all based on, because like their schedules probably follow your 7th and 8th grade better than the elementary schedule. But they're still, in terms of funding, they're still considered elementary, not middle school. Only in
okay.
terms of funding and
Oh,
what
I
you
thought they
pay
were
for them.
I just thought they were because of how that worked, because we sent in that letter before me. I rather
Yeah.
knew, but
Yeah.
yeah, that we were, because we treat them just like 7th and 8th graders.
Yeah.
They all the way around the board, all the classes, all of the
Yeah.
vocational ed stuff they
Yeah,
do as
but
well.
yeah, but when you look at it, when the A and B you get for those 6th graders is the elementary, not the middle school. You get paid, even though they're in your middle school, they're still paid fund wise, they're still you get paid 6th graders differently than you do your 7th graders. When you look at if you do your district reports, you'll see your
Yeah.
7th and 8th graders listed separately than your K through 6.
Oh, okay. Well, in my enrollment reports always have the 6th graders with the 7th and 8th, but okay.
Look at your district report.
And then you said just to call you if we had questions on the FP14 about that transportation section.
Yes.
Okay, because it's all over the place and I want to make sure I'm clicking the right box.
Okay. Yeah. If you're offering transportation, you would just put that information in there. Most do not. I've never seen a transportation come through, and Nicole didn't see one before me. So
okay.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of weird in a rural area how it works too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just if you've got any questions on that specifically, give me a call.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. I'll stay on for a few more minutes, but everybody's free to go. Thank you. Call me if you need anything.
Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome. Thank you, Susie.
Hey, Andrea, this is Justine Reese with Hellgate.
Hey, how are you?
I just had a quick question regarding entries into the Mayfair system. So I just tried a student and it looks like the invoice amount will be like almost $500 more than the spreadsheet, the tuition house bill 203 that I was working with before. Why would that be? Do you know?
I don't know. Are they entered in right now?
Well, it just kicked me out. I just got that error thing after when I
Okay,
tried
so
to
that
save the
might
student.
be why.
Okay.
I don't know. What's the district of residence?
0593.
Give me a name.
The student or
No. The school. The school.
target range.
Target. And
Yeah.
then you are Hellgate.
Yes. So I had like the elementary tuition rate for target range would be 1819, and then Hellgate Elementary would be 1688.
Okay, hang on. Let me get where is it? Percentages. Okay, Hellgate. And we're doing elementary.
Yes.
Okay, it's 1688.47 for you.
Yep.
And then target range is 1819.58.
Yeah.
And that's for 58. And it should be bringing up yours, 1688.47.
Yeah, so when I just typed it in, it just said the regular ed rate was 26 and some change. 2600. And I don't know if it's because I haven't finished the
that's
entry.
the problem we're having right now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's something going on with that. Okay.
Okay. No worries.
All right. Yeah,
Because
because that 20, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
okay.
All right. Yeah, it needs to get fixed.
So don't enter anything then, essentially.
You know,
right now?
you can, gosh, I wouldn't, not yet.
Okay. I'll hold off then. No
Because I
worries.
don't know what's going to happen if he fixes it, and I don't want it to overwrite any. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'll hold tight. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yellowstone Academy. And I sent you an email, but I didn't want to bring it up when everyone was on there because it doesn't pertain to everyone.
Okay.
I tried to listen and maybe I missed it on because we're the option C
Yes.
for the students coming out there. Do I key all those? Because I went to key one in just to see, and it comes up with tuition rate of whatever the school is coming from, but that's not the tuition rate that is agreed upon in that option C. How do I key those in, or do I?
Yeah, you would put in option C rate, and then you would put that amount in in the special ed section. But there's something not working with it right now. So
you're saying so basically when I keyed it all in, it came up with the option C. It came up with the regular ed rate there, and then which was completely different. Where do I key in the special ed stuff?
It's at the bottom, right below the student information, and then you see the special ed information. And it gives you the option rates. It'll say, hang on, right under days in school year. Or I'm sorry, right above that. Right underneath individual making request, it gives you option A, B, or C.
Below it, the special ed option, do option C.
Yeah, but there's something missing here.
There's
something weird going on right now.
I guess my thing too, when I do fill it out, do I do like individual making requests? Do I key that in as like parent guardian, or is it because there's not really, it's a school along with the parent guardian, but it's really.
Yeah, because you go in and you enter yours because you're Yellowstone. So you go in and yours are going to be entered in under the state facility tuition. And like you go in and you do your Yellowstone boys and girls and you enter those in there.
maybe I'll just call you off of this.
Yeah,
and we
call
can,
me, because this is not working at all. I don't know what is going on.
I'll call you. It won't be today because I have meetings this
That's fine.
afternoon, but I'll call you and we'll get through this.
Yeah, give me a call because I'm not sure what's going on here.
I'll wait, and maybe I just will call you next week or whatever. Give some time to get that corrected.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, Andrea, this is
Yeah.
Maggie.
Yeah.
I said no in regards to Crossroads, but in listening, Samantha jumped on after that, and so it answered my question, so you can ignore my email.
Oh, okay. On the, okay. Well, I may just have it, if it's, and put it in when I do all of my stuff.
Perfect.
Okay.
So you didn't have to worry about getting back to me if you didn't want to.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Maggie.
You answered it.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you.